Rain fell like silver needles over the battlefield. Smoke, fire, and the sound of plasma weapons filled the air. The ground was cracked and covered in black ash. In the middle of this chaos, a single human soldier sprinted between two broken tanks, bullets, and laser beams flying past his head. His name was Corporal Ray Donovan. A combat medic from Earth. Ray wasn't supposed to be here. The mission was supposed to be a peaceful joint exercise with her alien allies, the Valari. But everything had gone wrong within minutes. Someone had betrayed the treaty. Now both humans and Valari were under fire, not from each other, but from an unknown third force. Ray ducked behind a smoking rock, breathing hard. His hands were covered in blood, not his. He looked down at the slim, unconscious body he was dragging. It was a Valari female. She was young, her armor cracked open. On one side, golden skin bruised and scraped. Her long silver hair clung to her face, soaked in blood and rain. Her name tag read LT, Saraya Velana, a communications officer. She wasn't breathing properly. Ray scanned her with his medical device. One leg was badly broken. Her breathing was shallow and her pulse weak. If he didn't do something fast, she would die. Another explosion shook the ground nearby. Ray didn't wait. He pulled her into the half-destroyed hull of a Valari scout ship. It was the only shelter left. Rain poured through holes in the ceiling. Inside, the walls were cracked, but it was quiet. For now, he laid Saraya down gently and opened his medpack. He injected her with a stabilizer. Her eyes fluttered, glowing. Faintly gold, then widened in pain. She gasped and tried to sit up. Where? Ray pressed her shoulder. Easy, you're safe. Sort of. Her eyes met his. There was confusion, then realization. My leg. She let out a cry of pain as she moved. It's broken, Ray said quickly. Compound. Fracture. If I don't fix it now, you might lose it. I can't feel my toes, she whispered, her voice tight. You won't unless I reset the bone. She blinked fast. Do you have a bone regeneration kit? Ray shook his head. No time. Field kits are limited. I have to do it manually. Saraya looked at him in horror. Manually? That's barbaric. I'm a medic, not a monster. But it's either this ... or your leg dies. Tears formed in the corners of her eyes. She looked away. Just ... make it quick. Ray nodded and pulled out a strap. Bite this. It's going to hurt like hell. She took it and gritted her teeth, trembling. Ray felt her leg again, careful and quick. The bone was sticking out. He had only one shot. With a deep breath, he braced himself, then jerked the leg into place. Saraya screamed into the strap, her entire body jerking. Her eyes rolled back, and she passed out. Ray sighed. He wrapped her leg tightly and stabilized it with makeshift splints. Then he checked her vitals. Stable. Barely. He leaned back against the wall, exhausted. Outside, the storm grew louder. 3 hours earlier, the peace summit had begun with smiles and promises. Human generals and Valari leaders had met inside a glass command dome on the surface of Delta 9, a joint frontier planet. No one expected violence. Saraya Velana, proud daughter of House Velana, was bored out of her mind. She wasn't a soldier, not really. She was good with tech, especially neural comms. Today, her job was simple: monitor signals, ensure clean communication, and try not to get noticed. She glanced across the room and saw the humans. Most were tall, bulky in their armor, faces unreadable. One of them stood out, a man with dark hair and focused eyes, talking quietly with a younger officer. She didn't know why, but her gaze lingered on him for a moment too long. Suddenly, her console lit up with red. Unidentified signals, not Valari. Not human. Jamming waves. Then chaos. Explosions tore through the command dome. Alarm screamed. People. Shouted. Soldiers pulled weapons. Someone had ambushed the summit. The Lari and human soldiers tried to defend, but the enemy came fast, sleek black drones, flying like insects, firing plasma bolts from every angle. No warning, no mercy. Soraya ran. She wasn't a fighter. She had no weapon training. She just knew she had to survive, but she didn't get far. A collapsing structure struck her from behind. She remembered pain, then darkness. Now inside the broken scout ship, she opened her eyes again. Her throat was dry. Her leg burned. She turned her head and saw Ray watching her. "You didn't leave me," she whispered. "Of course not," he said. "Medics stay with the wounded." She looked at him for a long moment. "You saved my leg." "Even if you did it like a primitive," he chuckled softly. "You screamed loud enough to wake a sandworm." "I thought I blacked out." "You did." She managed a faint smile. "Thank you, human." Ray, she repeated. "I'm Soraya." Suddenly, a red light blinked on his scanner. Enemy life forms. Closing in, Ray stood up and grabbed his weapon. "They found us." Soraya struggled to sit up. "I can." "Help. You can barely move. I can shoot." He looked at her, then handed her a sidearm. Outside, shapes moved in the rain. The fight wasn't over. Asterisk rain hammered the roof of the broken scout ship. The red alert light blinked steadily on Ray's scanner. Hostiles were closing in 5 signatures, maybe 6. And they were fast. Ray checked his weapon. Half a clip left. He turned to Soraya, who leaned against the inner wall. She was pale but awake, gripping the sidearm he'd given her with both hands. Her bandaged leg was stretched out, shaking slightly. She tried to hide the pain, but Ray could see it. "You ever fired one of those?" he asked. Soraya nodded weakly. "In simulation training." Ray raised an eyebrow. "This won't be simulated." "I figured," she said, her voice tight. Outside, something moved past the ship. Fast. Quiet. Ray crouched near the hatch and motioned for silence. He peered through a crack barely enough to see a shadow dart by. Then another. "These aren't regular soldiers," he whispered. "They move like hunters." "Drones?" "No, something else. Something alive." Soraya tightened her grip. "Who's attacking us, Ray?" "It wasn't the humans. It wasn't the Velari." "I don't know," he replied. "But someone wanted both sides wiped out." Suddenly, a sharp noise echoed from the rear of the ship. A hiss. Ray turned. They're inside. He grabbed Soraya and pulled her down behind a metal crate just as a long, needle-like claw pierced through the back wall. The metal screamed as it was torn apart. Soraya's eyes widened. "What is that?" "Not friendly." The creature entered, tall, dark, and insect-like. Its black skin shimmered with oily armor. 4 legs bent backward like a spider. Glowing eyes scanned the wreckage. It clicked loudly, sniffing the air. Ray whispered, "Stay down. Don't move." But Soraya's breathing was uneven. Pain made her tremble. The creature turned toward the sound. Ray stood and fired. 3 shots. Hit the creature's chest, sparking off its armor. It shrieked, lunging forward. Ray dodged, grabbed a steel rod from the floor, and swung. Metal hit carapace. The creature staggered. Soraya, using all her strength, raised the pistol. Her hand shook, but she aimed. She pulled the trigger twice. 1 shot struck its eye. It screeched and collapsed, twitching. Ray exhaled hard. "Nice shot," Soraya gasped. "I think I'm going to pass out." "No, don't," Ray said, rushing to her side. "You're doing great." Her breathing slowed, but her eyes stayed open. "You said 6 hostiles. Still 5 left," he said grimly. "They couldn't stay here." 10 minutes later, they moved. Ray supported her carefully, using a broken shield plate as a stretcher. The rain hadn't stopped. Thunder rumbled above and flashes of light lit the cracked sky. The forest near the crash zone offered better cover. Strange, tall trees with glowing blue veins towered over them. The leaves hissed softly in the wind. Ray had activated a dampener field to block scans, but it wouldn't last long. They found a half-collapsed bunker Valari design, likely abandoned in the first assault. Inside, it was dark and cold. Ray set Soraya down gently and checked her leg. The bandages held, but the swelling worried him. She looked at him and whispered, "Why did you stay behind for me?" Ray paused. "Because it's my job." She shook her head. "No. Most humans would have left. I've seen the data. You're not like the others." He looked at her quietly. "You weren't just a soldier lying in the dirt. You were someone who could be saved." Her golden eyes shimmered. "Even if I called you barbaric?" Ray chuckled. "I've been called worse." She smiled faintly. Outside, more hisses echoed. The creatures were hunting again. Hours passed. Ray set up a signal blocker and a motion sensor at the door. Soraya rested, her skin clammy. He needed antibiotics, proper med tools, but there was nothing left in the wreck. Soraya stirred. "I can feel them. They use telepathic pulses." Ray looked surprised. "You're sensitive to that?" "Yes, most Valari are. Can you track them?" "No," she said weakly, "but I know they're near, and they hate us. Deeply." Ray nodded. "I believe it." There was a pause. Then she asked quietly, "Why do humans touch so much?" "When they heal?" Ray blinked. "What?" "You held my hand. You pressed your palm to my head. You talked. Even when I was unconscious." Ray shrugged. "Comfort helps healing. Even if the body's broken, the mind needs peace." Soraya closed her eyes. "That's not something we were taught." Another silence. Then the motion sensor beeped. Ray jumped up. He looked at the scanner. One creature, closing in fast. Soraya tried to sit. "Ray? No, stay." He moved toward the doorway. The moment he opened it, a black blur slammed into him. He rolled, firing blindly. The creature shrieked, biting at his armor. Soraya screamed, raised her pistol again, and shot. Hitting it in the back. Ray grabbed a pipe and stabbed it through the creature's mouth. It stopped moving. Blood sprayed across the bunker floor. Ray panted, bleeding from his shoulder. Soraya crawled toward him. "You're hurt." "It's fine." "No, it's not," she said, tearing a cloth from her armor and pressing it to his wound. Their hands met. For a moment, they just stared at each other, human and alien. Enemies turned allies, covered in dirt and blood. "I don't hate your kind," Soraya whispered. Ray smiled, despite the pain. "Then we're making progress." That night, they slept back to back. One watched while the other rested. No more words. Just the silent bond of survival. Outside, the forest glowed in the dark. The storm finally began to fade. But deep in the trees, more creatures stirred, and the worst was yet to come. Asterisk. The forest was too quiet. Ray didn't like it. Not the glowing trees. Not the still air, and definitely not the strange silence. No birds. No wind. Just the sound of his own footsteps and Soraya's slow breathing behind him. He moved carefully, rifle raised. His shoulder still hurt from the last fight, but he ignored it. Behind him, Soraya limped slowly on her injured leg, leaning on a broken metal rod. Every step made her wince, but she didn't complain. They had no choice but to move. The creatures were tracking them. If they stayed in the bunker, they'd die. Ray whispered, "Stay close. No noise." Soraya nodded silently. The forest was full of strange shapes, trees with blue veins. Long, twisted vines that moved even without wind. The ground was soft and patches of glowing moss lit their path. They walked for nearly an hour. Then, Ray stopped. Up ahead was a wide clearing. 2 wide. In the middle, blackened ground. A large nest-like hole surrounded by bones, alien bones, Valari bones. Even human armor. Saraya's eyes widened. This is a feeding zone. Ray crouched low. We go around it. No, she said. If we try to walk around, we'll make more noise. More open area. It's a risk, but the fastest way through. Ray sighed. You really want to cross that? I trust you'll shoot anything that tries to eat us, she said dryly. Smiled faintly. That's the spirit. They stepped into the clearing, one slow step at a time. Ray scanned every shadow. Nothing moved. Then halfway across, Saraya stumbled. Her foot slipped on wet ground, and she fell hard. She cried out just once. That was all it took. Suddenly, the trees around the clearing shook. Ray cursed. Move! He grabbed Saraya and pulled her up just as a creature leapt from the trees. It wasn't like the others. It was bigger. Taller than a man, with long arms and a glowing chest. Its face had no eyes, just a long mouth filled with razor teeth. Ray fired. The bullets bounced off. Creature screeched and charged. Saraya fired her sidearm. It barely slowed it down. Ray looked at the hole in the middle of the clearing. The feeding pit. He got an idea. Run to the edge. Now. What are you doing? Ray turned and ran toward the creature, shouting, Come on, ugly! Follow me! The creature chased him, snarling. Ray jumped over the pit, but the creature didn't jump high enough. It fell in. There was a sickening crunch and a loud screech. Then silence. Ray crawled to the edge, panting. The creature lay broken at the bottom of the pit. Saraya limped over. You're insane, but alive. She stared down at the monster's body. What are these things? Ray shook his head. They're not in any records, not Valari. Not from any known system. Something new? Or something ancient, he muttered. Later, they found a cave near a ridge, deep enough to hide them for the night. Saraya's leg was worse again. Ray rebandaged it carefully, using the last of his clean cloth. She looked at him with tired eyes. You've lost blood. You're shaking. I'll manage. You're not a soldier anymore. You're just a man trying to carry both of us. He sat back, wiping sweat from his face. You say that like it's a bad thing. It's not, she said softly. They sat in silence, the glow of moss lighting the cave faintly. Then Saraya asked, Do you have family? Ray hesitated. Not anymore. I'm sorry. He nodded. And you? I was the youngest daughter of my house. They said I'd never be strong enough for war. Guess I proved them wrong. You did. You saved me, she added. Twice now. I didn't do it for medals. I know. They locked eyes. There was a strange peace in that moment. A quiet understanding. Two enemies, now allies. Maybe more. But peace never lasted long. Ray's scanner beeped again. 3 signals. Close. He stood quickly. They're coming. Saraya reached for her pistol. I can fight. No, you'll stay hidden in the cave. I won't let you. Die alone. You won't have to, he said, placing a hand on her shoulder. I'll be back. Then he turned and stepped out into the forest. Leaving her behind. In the glowing trees, Ray waited. The creatures came silently, moving low to the ground. Smaller than the others. Fast. He aimed and fired, hitting one in the chest. It went down. The other 2 split apart, flanking him. He moved fast, dodging left, then ducked behind a tree. One creature lunged. Ray swung his rifle like a bat and cracked its skull. The second tackled him. They rolled, both struggling. The creature slashed his arm. Ray pulled his knife and stabbed it deep in the neck. It twitched and died. Ray sat there, breathing hard, blood running down his arm from the cave. Soraya ran out. I told you not to follow. I heard the fight, she said, helping him up. I wasn't going to let you die alone either. He smiled weakly. We need shelter. A place they can't track us, he said. I know where we can go, she replied. There's a hidden Velari outpost nearby. I saw it on old maps during training. You sure it's not destroyed? Not sure, she admitted. But it's better than sleeping with monsters. He nodded. Lead the way. They vanished into the trees, wounded but alive, and in the darkness, far behind them, something larger than anything before crawled from the feeding pit. Its eyes glowed red-dot. It had a new scent now. A human and a Velari working together. And it hated them both. Asterisk. The journey through the forest felt endless. Ray's legs were burning, and blood still dripped from the wound on his arm. Soraya limped beside him, sweat pouring down her golden skin, her face pale from pain. But she didn't stop. Neither did he. BCOULDN single quotes to dot behind them. The forest had gone silent again. That meant the larger creature, the one that crawled. From the pit was near, watching, waiting. Soraya clutched a small Velari compass. The outpost should be close. If we reach the mountain ridge, it's hidden inside the rocks. Ray kept his rifle ready. We better hope it's still there. They pushed forward through thick vines and glowing blue plants. The forest grew darker the deeper they went. But soon, the trees began to thin and gray stone peaks rose ahead. Soraya pointed. There, that rock formation. See the crack between those boulders? That's the entrance. Ray narrowed his eyes. Looks like a dead end. It's not, she said firmly. Velari tech cloaking fields. The door responds to neural patterns. You can open it? I hope so. They reached the crack in the rocks. Soraya placed her hand on the stone. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft hum echoed, and the rock shimmered, revealing a metal doorway hidden beneath illusion tech. Ray stepped back, impressed. You guys really don't like being found. Soraya smiled weakly. It kept us alive for centuries. The door slid open slowly, dust falling from the edges. Inside was darkness. Ray raised a glow stick from his kit and entered. The hallway was narrow and cold. Cracked lights lined the ceiling. Some flickered. Others were dead. The air smelled like rust and age. Soraya followed, leaning heavily on the wall. This place was abandoned long ago. Before the treaty. Ray helped her into the first room, a control chamber, half collapsed. A large Velari console sat in the corner, covered in dirt. Ray scanned the walls. Safe? Safer than out there, she said. He nodded. We rest here. Then we find supplies, weapons, maybe a signal booster. She collapsed against the wall. We need medkits too. You're bleeding more. So are you. They both laughed softly. An hour later, Ray found a working medkit in a sealed cabinet. The injector worked on both human and Velari tissue. He patched his shoulder, then helped Soraya clean her wound again. She winced but didn't complain. You've done this before, Ray said. Only in theory. You? Too many times. You don't talk like a killer, she said gently. I'm not. I fix what others break. You fixed me. Ray smiled faintly. You're not broken. They sat close, backs to the wall, silence growing between them. Then Soraya said, Why do humans fight so many wars? Ray looked up, surprised by the question. Same reason anyone does. Fear, greed, sometimes to protect others. We always thought humans were reckless, loud, dangerous. Some are. But you're not. Ray looked at her, his voice softer now. You're not what I expected either. Their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them. A moment of peace. But It didn't last. Suddenly, the base lights flickered. Then dim. Ray jumped to his feet. What was that? Soraya's face went pale. The security system. It just powered on. But we didn't touch anything. I didn't activate it. The wall console lit up. Intrusion detected. Biological entity detected outside perimeter. Warning. Perimeter breach imminent. Ray turned to Soraya. It followed us. She stood slowly. It found the outpost. The warning repeated. Ray checked his rifle. How do we lock this place? Down? Soraya limped to the console and touched it. Her fingers moved across the glowing symbols. Lockdown engaged. The outer door hissed shut. Metal barriers slid into place. Ray exhaled. Will it hold? For a while, she said. But it's not built for battle. A deep thud echoed through the corridor. The creature was outside. It began slamming its massive claws against the metal. Again and again. The wall shook. Soraya looked at Ray. We have to activate the defense turrets, but the core power's offline. Then we bring it back. She hesitated. The power room is at the far end. Through the maintenance tunnels. Ray nodded. Let's go. The maintenance tunnels were narrow and full of dust. Pipes hissed with pressure. Strange sounds echoed through the metal walls. Ray led the way, flashlight raised. Soraya followed closely. Still limping but determined. They reached the power chamber. The core sat silent, a large, glowing orb covered in vines and dust. Soraya limped forward and began typing on the control panel. Ray watched the hallway behind them, rifle ready. Soraya shouted, It's rebooting. Faster. The creature had found another way in. They heard metal twisting behind them. Then crash. It burst through the wall at the far end. Ray opened fire. The bullets slowed it down, but not enough. Soraya slammed her hand onto the console. Power core online. The lights flared bright. Defense turrets dropped from the ceiling and locked on the intruder. Ray ducked. Zap. Zap. Lasers hit the creature hard. It screeched, writhing in pain. Another blast, straight through its chest. The beast collapsed. Smoke rising from its body. Dead. Ray exhaled. That's one problem solved. Soraya slumped against the wall. I think I broke my other leg. Ray rushed to her. Hold on. She gave a weak laugh. Just kidding. Maybe. He looked at her face, tired, bruised, but alive. You saved us, he said. We saved each other, she replied. Hours later, they returned to the main control room. With power restored. Ray activated the long-range beacon. A signal began pulsing into the stars. Maybe someone would hear it, maybe not. But for now, they were safe. Together. The beacon pulsed steadily. A soft rhythmic sound echoed through the room like a heartbeat. Reaching out into space, hoping someone was listening. Ray stood in front of the console, eyes locked on the glowing signal bars. Transmission sent, the system confirmed. Response pending. Soraya sat nearby, leaning against the wall with her legs stretched out, eyes half closed. Her body still ached, but she was awake. Alert. Ray turned to her. There's still no reply. But the signal's strong. It'll reach orbit. If anyone's left up there, she said quietly. Ray nodded. We'll give it time. Soraya watched him silently. You don't like waiting, do you? No, he admitted. Not when I know more creatures could be out there. She looked at the ceiling. The one we killed. It wasn't the biggest. There's more. I felt them. Something worse is watching. Ray frowned. You said you could sense them? Yes, it's like pressure in my mind. They broadcast ... hate. Ray sat beside her. Then we prepare. If they come, we fight? Or run? She looked at him. Run where? He had no answer. 2 hours passed. The outpost felt like a ghost ship. Lights flickered. Air vents hissed. Old Velari tech buzzed to life, then failed again. Even powered up, the place felt wrong. Ray searched the storage rooms and found more supplies, rations, one full medical kit, and a backup rifle. He also found a datapad containing a list of all staff assigned to the outpost. Only one name was marked as missing, presumed alive. Velana, High Commander. Ray showed it to Saraya. Her eyes went wide. "That's my mother," she whispered. "She was here?" Ray looked again. "This list is a decade old. She disappeared during a classified mission. We thought she was lost in deep space." Ray narrowed his eyes. What if she wasn't? Later, as Saraya rested, Ray explored deeper into the outpost tunnels. He found a sealed door marked Experimental Vault, Biocontainment. Single quotes locked. He returned with Saraya. She placed her hand on the scanner. Access granted. The door opened with a hiss. Inside was a chamber filled with stasis pods. Broken ones. Only one remained intact. Inside floated a Velari woman taller than Saraya, silver hair braided, armor cracked. Her body was covered in scars, eyes closed. But alive. Ray stared. "That's her?" Saraya nodded slowly, her voice cracking. "Mother." The chamber system beeped. Vital stable. Stasis maintained. Revival possible. Warning. Unknown. Infection detected. Ray looked at Saraya. "Infection?" Saraya frowned. "Velari don't get sick easily. We have adaptive cells." Ray pointed at the creature wounds on the stasis pod. "Maybe she fought them. Got exposed to something. We need to wake her," Saraya whispered. Ray hesitated. "Are you sure? If she's infected, I don't care. She's all I have left." Ray sighed. "Then let's do it together." They hit the release. Steam poured out. The glass slid open. Her body dropped forward into Ray's arms. Her eyes snapped open. "Who?" she growled, confused and weak. Saraya stepped forward. "Mother, it's me, Saraya." The woman blinked, then stared. You're not supposed to be here." "None of us are," Ray muttered. Velana coughed, her voice hoarse. "How long?" 10 years, Saraya said softly. Velana sat up slowly. Her gaze moved to Ray. "Human?" "He saved me," Saraya added quickly. "He's with us." Velana narrowed her eyes. "That remains to be seen." Ray crossed his arms. "Glad to meet you too." She looked down at her own arm. Partially healed claw wounds glowed faintly. "I know what hunts us," she said. Ray leaned forward. "Tell us." Velana explained everything. 10 years ago, the Velari outpost had detected strange signals, ancient code buried deep beneath the planet. They sent a research team. Only one message was ever recovered. They hunger for pain. Not long after, the team vanished. Then the creatures emerged, creatures that fed on fear, hunted minds and infected anything they touched. She was the only survivor, but I couldn't kill them, she said bitterly. I sealed myself here and waited for someone or something to end it. Ray nodded. Well, they're still out there. One found us already. Velana stared at him. And you're still breathing? Barely. Saraya said, we sent a signal. A rescue might come. Velana shook her head. No rescue will survive unless we stop them at the source. Ray looked at her. Where's the source? There's a temple buried under the valley. Ancient. Alien. That's where they come from. That's where they're growing. Ray tightened his grip on his rifle. Then we burn it. Velana stared at him for a long time, then nodded. You're brave, or stupid, but I like that. Saraya looked at both of them. If we're going, we'll need every weapon we can carry. Velana stood, still weak, but eyes burning. With purpose. Then let's go hunting. Hours later, as the group prepared weapons and supplies, the outpost scanner lit up again. Signal received. Ray rushed to the console. A voice crackled through. This is UN Vessel Starfinder. We received your distress call. Respond if you are alive. Ray grabbed the mic. This is Corporal Ray Donovan. I'm with 2 Velari. We're alive but not safe. Planet has hostile life forms, unknown species. Coordinates locked, the reply came. ETA, 3 hours. Hang on. Ray smiled. Soraya leaned close. Help is coming. Velana didn't. Smiled out, she looked out at the glowing forest. No, she said coldly. War is coming. Asterisk. The sky turned blood red as the sun began to set behind the jagged mountains. Ray stood at the edge of the drop site, rifle across his back, armor sealed tight. Beside him stood Soraya, her legs still weak but now supported by a brace from the outpost's medical cache. Her hands held a compact plasma pistol, but her eyes showed more fire than fear. And then there was Velana. She moved like a ghost, silent, fast, focused. Her once dormant armor now pulsed with old battle energy. A deep scar ran down the side of her neck, glowing faintly with blue light. Ray spoke first. We head underground, stop the creatures at the source, and clear a path for the rescue ship. Velana shook her head. No, we head underground and destroy whatever made them. Rescue is secondary. If we fail, no ship will be safe. Soraya nodded. We end it today. Ray looked at both Velari women and felt something stir in his chest. Not fear, but the strange feeling of belonging. They made their way through the narrow valley. The entrance to the temple was hidden behind a curtain of vines and jagged stone. A sick, heavy smell leaked from the cracks, like old blood and rot. Ray stepped forward. You sure this is the place? Velana placed her hand on a small panel covered in dirt. It lit up with alien runes. The stone wall slowly slid open. Inside, the air was colder. The tunnel walls were smooth but unnatural, like something built it long before either species came to this world. Welcome to the pit, Velana whispered. The tunnel sloped downward, spiraling deeper into the ground. Soraya activated a shoulder light. The walls shimmered faintly with black organic patterns, almost like veins pulsing in the stone. Ray kept his weapon ready. Every step felt heavier. Then the whispers started. Ray stopped. Did you hear that? Velana nodded grimly. It's begun. Soraya gritted her teeth. They're inside our heads. The deeper we go, the louder they'll get. Can it control us? Ray asked. Only if you're afraid. He glanced at Soraya. You afraid? She forced a smile. Only of going back. They reached the first chamber. It was massive, shaped like a hive. Thick black tendrils hung from the ceiling, dripping glowing blue liquid. In the center of the room stood a giant stone altar pulsing with light. Around it were bodies, dozens of them. Old uniforms, rotting gear, human and Velari alike. Ray swallowed. This was a slaughterhouse. Velana approached one of the bodies and knelt. These were the first team, my friends. Soraya walked to the altar, her voice quiet. This is where it started, isn't it? Yes, Velana replied. This is where they broke free. Ray raised his weapon. Then where are they now? A growl answered him. From the ceiling, 3 creatures dropped, twisting limbs. Razor claws. Their skin shimmered like black oil. Ray fired first. Blam. Blam. 1 creature went down. The others charged. Velana leaped forward, slicing one clean in half with a glowing blade. Soraya took careful aim and shot the third right between the eyes. It fell with a screech. But more came. Ray shouted, "We need to move." Velana yelled, "The heart is deeper, below this chamber." They sprinted down a side tunnel, dodging black tendrils and swipes from creatures bursting from the walls. Ray slid under a collapsing doorway. Soraya limped fast and Ray pulled her through just in time. Velana stayed behind for a second longer, then tossed a plasma grenade. Boom! The tunnel behind them caved in. The second chamber was worse. At its center was a pulsating orb floating in midair. It was alive, breathing, connected to the walls, the floor, even the air. Soraya gasped. That's not technology. It's a brain. Velana said coldly, it's the hive core. It thinks for all of them. Cut the brain, kill the body. Ray stepped forward. So how do we kill it? Velana pulled out a red device. Mini-core overload. This will fry everything in a 10-meter radius. Ray frowned. That includes us. Yes, she said calmly. No, Soraya cut in. There must be another way. We call the rescue ship. Bomb it from orbit. Ray shook his head. No time. If more creatures get out before that, they'll spread. This planet could fall. Soraya looked at her mother. Then give me the device. Velana blinked. You would do it? Yes. Ray stepped forward. No, I will. They argued for a second. 3 people, 3 lives. One mission. Then a roar echoed through the chamber. A massive figure crawled down the far wall, the alpha. Taller than the rest. Its body pulsed with blue veins. A crown of claws curved over its skull. Ray stared. Now that is a boss fight. The alpha charged. Ray fired everything he had. Soraya followed. Velana sliced with her energy blade, but it was fast. Smarter. It dodged, bit, slashed. Ray was knocked across the chamber. Soraya screamed as the creature pinned Velana. Ray crawled up, took a deep breath, and ran straight at the alpha. With his last grenade in hand, he jumped, shoved it into the alpha's mouth, and rolled away. Boom! Half its head blew apart. It staggered. Velana stabbed it deep with her blade. Soraya finished it with a final shot to the brain. The alpha collapsed. The hive core screamed. A psychic shriek. Then a dim. Vel single Kahana, bleeding heavily, dropped the red overload device near the core and limped back. It's set, she said. We have 60 seconds. Ray grabbed Soraya. Let's go. They ran. The tunnel shook behind them. Light exploded as the core detonated. They dove out of the exit just as fire roared up from the temple's heart. Rocks rained. Down, trees burned. But the forest finally fell silent. 30 minutes later, the sky broke open. The Starfinder ship descended through the clouds. Ray, Soraya, and Velana stood on the ridge, bloody, exhausted, and barely standing, but alive. A human rescue team rushed out. One soldier stopped, staring at Ray and the Velari. Beside him. Ray smiled weakly. Took you long enough. Smoke rose from the jungle, valley below like ghosts drifting into the sky. The once alive forest now looked like a graveyard. Twisted trees, black soil, and a deep smoking scar where the temple had exploded. Nothing moved down there. Not even the wind. Ray stood at the edge of the landing site, his uniform torn, armor dented, and eyes bloodshot. But he was breathing, alive. Beside him stood Soraya, leaning on a support stick, her leg braced but healing. Her silver hair was messy, face covered in dirt, yet her golden eyes glowed with strength. Velana sat on a metal crate, silent. Her arms were crossed, watching the horizon with that same sharp stare. The rescue ship Starfinder had touched down nearly 20 minutes ago. Medics had rushed over, checked vitals, handed out water and supplies. But no one really spoke. Not yet. Something still lingered in the air, the memory of what they had fought. And what they had lost. Inside the Starfinder, a human officer sat across from Ray. Captain Rios, a man with silver stripes on his chest and a cold, calculating stare reviewed the report on a holoscreen. "You're telling me," he said slowly, "that the creatures weren't native?" Ray nodded. "They came from underground, something ancient, something angry." "And you destroyed the core?" "We all did." "Together," Ray added, glancing toward the door where Soraya and Velana waited just outside. Rios narrowed his eyes. "You disobeyed direct retreat orders." Ray looked him in the eye. "If we had retreated, those things would have overrun the rescue team. Maybe the whole planet." Silence. Then Rios nodded slowly. "The council will review this, but for now, good work, Corporal." Ray stood, not saluting, just nodding once, outside. The ship, Soraya was lying back on a metal platform, looking up at the stars. Her hands were folded under her head, her mind lost somewhere far away. Ray sat beside her. "Thinking about the fight?" he asked. "No," she said softly. "Thinking about what comes next." He nodded. "Yeah." Soraya turned to him. "Velana wants to stay. She said there might be other sites like the temple." Ray raised an eyebrow. "She's planning another mission?" "She always was a soldier," Soraya said. "Even in stasis, her war never ended." Ray glanced at the jungle one last time. "Do you want to stay?" Soraya didn't answer right away. Then, "Part of me does. But not for war, for rebuilding." Ray looked at her with quiet admiration. "You'd be good at that." She smiled. "And you?" He hesitated. "I don't know. This was supposed to be a simple mission. I was just a medic." "You're more than that now," she said. They sat in silence for a moment. Then she reached out and gently took his hand. Later that night, in the ship's medbay, Velana stood beside a reinforced window, arms behind her back. Her armor had been cleaned, her wounds patched, but her mind was still on the battlefield. Ray approached. "I heard you're staying," he said. Velana nodded. "I have no desire to sit in peace talks while real threats grow underground." Ray stepped beside her. "I believe you." She turned toward him. "You surprised me, human. You fought with honor." Ray smirked. "Thanks. You're a terrifying mother, by the way." "She's alive because of you," Velana said. "And I won't forget that." There was something in her voice, respect. "And if you hurt her," she added, her eyes narrowing slightly, "I'll drop you off a cliff." Ray laughed. "Fair enough." The next morning, Starfinder began preparations to lift off. Soraya stood at the loading ramp, watching the Valari scout team arrive. 5 soldiers in green-gray armor. They were here to stay behind with Velana and continue searching the underground. Ray came up behind her. "You sure you want to go?" he asked. She looked back at him. "With you?" "Yes," he smiled. "Then let's go." Velana stepped forward. Soraya. The two women faced each other. "Stay safe," her mother said. "And don't lose yourself in peace. It's harder to protect than war." Soraya hugged her mother tightly. "All right, often." Velana allowed the hug for only a moment before pulling back. Then she turned to Ray. "Protect her." "With my life," he promised. As the Starfinder lifted off, the jungle shrank beneath them. The temple ruins disappeared behind smoke and ash. In the ship's lounge, Ray sat beside Soraya as the stars grew brighter beyond the window. She leaned on his shoulder. "Do you think they're really all gone?" she asked. Ray stared at the stars. "I think we stopped this nest, but I also think we've only scratched the surface." Soraya nodded. "Then we prepare for whatever comes next." "Together," he said. "Together." Far below, deep in the cold rock of the planet, something stirred. A small shard of black bone pulsed faintly in the dark, still alive, still waiting. Asterisk. It had been 4 weeks since Ray and Soraya left the war-torn jungle planet behind. The Starfinder had returned to Earth orbit, and the pair were now stationed inside a neutral zone medical and research facility floating above the planet. The base was calm, clean, and full of light, a sharp contrast to the darkness they had escaped. But peace didn't feel peaceful. Ray stared out the wide glass window, watching Earth spin slowly beneath them. His reflection in the glass showed tired eyes and a healing scar on his arm. No battles now. No monsters. Just ... waiting. Behind him, Soraya entered the room. She wore a soft white recovery suit, her leg finally unbandaged but still stiff. You keep staring at the earth like it owes you answers, she said gently. Ray turned and smiled faintly. Maybe I just missed the chaos. She walked to his side and leaned on the railing. Strange. I thought you hated being shot at. I did, but now it's too quiet, she understood. After everything they went through, the jungle. Hive, the hive mind whispers. The silence now felt unnatural. Have you heard from your mother? Ray asked. Soraya nodded. Twice. Their team found another pit. Ray's face darkened. Another one? Sealed, for now. But she thinks there are more. Ray shook his head. This thing ... It wasn't just one monster. It was a system, a network. A species, Soraya said quietly, older than both of ours. An alert flashed on the nearby console. Incoming. Priority message. Commander Velana. Soraya opened it. Velana's hologram appeared, her face bruised, armor dirty. Daughter. Human, she said with urgency. I will keep this short. We were ambushed near Site 3. The creatures evolved. Faster. Stronger. Ray stepped forward. How many? Too many, she replied. We've lost contact with 2 scout teams. I'm requesting reinforcements and clearance for orbital strike, but the council wants proof first. Soraya looked alarmed. We'll come, Velana nodded. I knew you would say that. I've sent coordinates. Come prepared. The message cut off. Ray and Soraya exchanged a look. So much for peace, he muttered. Later that day, they boarded a smaller dropship, the Galehawk, with a team of 4 elite scouts from both human and Vilari forces. The mission was unofficial. Quiet and fast. No medals. No announcements. Ray double-checked his gear: new armor, improved medpack, and a heavier rifle. He looked across at Soraya, now dressed in a light combat suit, her sidearm resting on her hip. She noticed his stare. What? He smiled. Just glad you're coming back. She smiled softly. I didn't come this far to let you run into death alone. The planet below was called Valisfor, a research world full of alien ruins and dense rock formations. But now, one sector had gone dark. No signals, no scouts. Just silence. Their ship dropped them at nightfall. The moment Ray stepped onto the surface, he felt it again. The pressure in the air, like something was watching. The sky above was thick, with red clouds. Lightning flashing far away. This feels wrong already. One of the human scouts muttered. They moved into the rocks. Quiet. Slow. Soraya pointed ahead. That's the scout camp. Or what's left of it. They found a burnt clearing. Crushed. Tents. Shattered weapons. Blood. No bodies. Ray crouched and picked up a cracked helmet. Whatever did this, took everything. Look, Soraya whispered, pointing to a mark on the stone. A deep scratch, circular. A spiral. Ray touched it. It pulsed faintly. Soraya's voice dropped. It's calling. He looked at her. Can you block it? I'll try. Suddenly screams. Not theirs. Distant. From inside the rocks. Ray stood fast. Move. They followed. The sound until they reached a narrow cave. Inside, a wounded Vilari soldier leaned against a wall, his chest bleeding, his eyes wide with fear. Commander Velana, he gasped, is still inside. She tried to hold him off. Ray grabbed the man's shoulder. How long ago? Minutes. She sent me to warn the others. Saraya turned to Ray. We have to go in. Ray nodded. Let's finish what we started. They entered the cave. It was tight and dark. The walls pulsed faintly. The deeper they went, the louder the whispering became, but something was different. This time, the voices were clearer. They weren't just screaming. They were speaking. Ray gritted his teeth. They're learning, Saraya whispered. They remember us. Suddenly, movement. Two creatures sprang from the ceiling. Ray fired instantly. Saraya ducked and returned fire. Their shots hit, but these monsters didn't drop fast. Their skin was thicker, faster reflexes, harder to kill. It took 3 bursts of concentrated fire to bring just one down. They're changing, Saraya said, panting. They're adapting. And they hate us more than ever. At the heart of the cave, they found her. Velana stood in a circle of broken creature bodies, her armor torn, one arm hanging limp. But her blade still glowed. She turned and saw them. Saraya. Human, you came. Ray ran to her. We're getting you out of here. She shook her head. It's too late. The hive has moved deeper. This was only a nest. The true core. It's under the mountain. Saraya helped her mother stand. Then we go together, Velana nodded once. But next time, we burn the entire mountain down. As they exited the cave, more scouts joined them. The sky rumbled above. Their ship was ready to lift off. But Ray knew this wasn't the end. Not even close. As they took off, he looked down at the glowing spiral burned into the rock. It pulsed slowly. Watching. Asterisk. A storm of fire rolled across the sky as the mountain cracked open. The ground shook violently beneath the dropship as it landed on the edge of Mount Kirith, the place Velana had called the final hive. Thick black smoke curled into the clouds. Lightning flashed, not from the storm, but from the hive's growing power. Ray stood inside the dropship's armory, locking his chest plate tight. His face was focused, calm, but deep inside he knew this was it. No backup. No second chances. This was the end. Saraya walked in, adjusting the strap of her sidearm. Her golden eyes were steady, her silver hair tied back, armor now marked with symbols of both Velari and human design. You ready? She asked. Ray smiled faintly. Wasn't I born ready? She gave him a look. You almost cried during your last leg injection. That needle was huge. They both laughed, not because it was funny, but because laughing made the fear smaller. Outside, Velana stood before a group of 10 elite mixed-species soldiers, half human, half Velari, all veterans, all volunteers. She raised her voice. Over the wind, this mountain houses the last hive. If we fail here, the creatures will rise again, stronger, smarter. And next time they'll reach the stars. She looked at her daughter, then at Ray. But if we succeed, if we destroy the brain that commands them all, they will die. Forever. The soldiers raised their weapons. Ray stepped beside Velana. We breach from the top. Set charges. Burn it down from the brain out. Velana nodded. We go together. The team entered the mountain through a fissure blown open by seismic activity. The deeper they went, the stranger the world became. The rock turned smooth, warm, breathing. This place wasn't just a hive. It was alive. Saraya whispered, it's one massive creature. The mountain itself is part of the hive. Ray scanned the walls. Then we're walking inside its body. Velana said coldly, let's give it heartburn. They reached the core. It was massive, a cathedral-sized chamber glowing red and blue. In the center floated the alpha brain, an enormous mass of nerves, pulsating light, and long black tendrils reaching into the walls like roots, and surrounding it, hundreds of creatures, standing, silent. Waiting. Ray's breath caught. Why aren't they attacking? Saraya gripped his arm. They single quotes listening. The brain turned toward them. Not physically, but inside their minds. A cold voice echoed, "You do not belong. You are meat, weak, you will join the hive." Ray raised his rifle. "Not today." Velana shouted, "Detonators now!" The soldiers moved fast, placing explosive charges along the walls and beneath the brain. The creatures began to hiss. The hive screamed. They attacked. Chaos exploded. Ray fired nonstop, taking down wave after wave. Saraya used her plasma pistol with deadly accuracy, covering two soldiers dragging a wounded comrade back. Velana was a blur of silver and blue, her blade slicing through monsters like air. The brain pulsed faster, angry, panicking. Ray shouted, "Charges ready?" A soldier screamed, "Almost." Then a giant beast, larger than any before, crashed down from the ceiling. It roared and charged straight at Saraya. Ray didn't think. He ran, shoved her out of the way. The creature slammed into him, throwing him across the chamber. Saraya cried out, crawling toward him. "Ray!" Blood poured from Ray's mouth. His armor was cracked, chest plate torn. Saraya grabbed his face. "Stay with me. Look at me." He smiled weakly. "Still, hate that needle. She laughed through tears. "Idiot." The brain screamed. Louder, Velana shouted, "Detonators are ready. We must go." Saraya looked at Ray. "Can you walk?" "No." She clenched her jaw. "Then I'll carry you." Ray tried to protest, but she lifted him up, half dragging, half holding him. The soldiers began retreating up the tunnels. Velana placed the last charge at the brain's base. The ground shook violently. Creatures screamed behind them. Saraya and Ray reached the exit just as the mountain exploded. Boom! Flames burst through every tunnel. The alpha brain burned in blue fire. The creatures screamed, then fell still. All of them all at once dead. 2 hours later, on the ridge overlooking the valley, Ray lay on a stretcher, breathing slowly. His chest was wrapped, his face pale but alive. Saraya sat beside him, holding his hand. Velana stood nearby, her face marked with soot and blood, but her eyes, for once, were calm. A soldier approached. "Ma'am, scanners show no signs of movement. The hive is gone. The planet is clear." Velana looked to the sky, then to Ray and Saraya, and finally said, "It's over." Back in orbit, the medical bay was quiet. Ray opened his eyes slowly. Saraya was already there, sitting on the edge of his bed. "You're awake," she whispered. "Unless this is a really weird dream," she laughed softly. "We did it." He looked at her. "Did we win?" "We survived," she said. "That's close enough," he nodded. "What now?" Saraya leaned closer, kissed his forehead, and said, "Now we live."